project. To tell us why this project is so important and so necessary for this area, I would like you to welcome our Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, the Honorable Joaquin J.J. Zamora.
Thank you, Sochi. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to have to warn you, it was an event a little bit earlier this morning at the Performing Arts Center for the Education Concert Series being hosted and performed by the Valley Symphony Orchestra. So I had 2 cups of coffee, so I'm really, really hyper now. No, it's a great day in McAllen. I know it's a little chill, a little breezy, a little bit on the cool side, but it's all about attitude. We keep doing this in the middle of July, okay? Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. Again, good morning. It's another great day, to colloquialize Mr. Rodriguez's phrase. It's another great day in McAllen. Thank you again all for being here as we celebrate the beginning of many improvements to Dove Avenue. The Dove Avenue roadway and drainage improvement project will be extended from Benson Road to 31st Street, just right behind us, which will provide an east-west corridor from McAllen's west city limits at Taylor Road to its east city limits at Jackson Road. And just as a quick aside, I grew up here just not too far away here on North 23rd Street. And who can remember how, if you lived off 23rd Street, how you got to 10th Street? Does anybody remember how you got there? Well, you would take Flamingo, which was a dirt caliche road. You drove south along the bicentennial drainage ditch, and then you crossed over the ditch, and it was still dirt road until you got to 10th Street. That was even before Dove came around. And I saw Dove when it got constructed from 10th to just about 2 blocks, 3 blocks west of 23rd, where the green, I won't even say the name, but the green water tower, right? And then later got extended all the way to just short of Ware Road, and ultimately all the way to here to 41st Street. So it's very important. Our city has always been growing in a northerly pattern to the north and northwest, and it's just great to see about this project coming to fruition. This project had been on the plan for some time, but there are other more important projects throughout the city that took precedence, and we're just glad that we have now the opportunity to capitalize on some funding to complete this small 0.3 mile segment of Dove Avenue. This project will improve drainage function and reduce flooding by introducing additional infrastructure and improving the existing receiving system. The improvements will serve the immediate vicinity of the new Dove Avenue and Benson Road, as well as adjoining property. Over the next 12 months, we anticipate that Dove Avenue will undergo road improvements as follows: a construction of a 1/4 mile, 4-lane urban roadway and curb and gutter from Benson Road to 31st Street, and a 5-foot sidewalk on both sides of the avenue. One of the many challenges that we face in terms of our city has always been traffic mobility. And to me, we have the mantra of mobility is prosperity. And so as we continue to grow north and northwest in our city, we have more and more subdivisions. And I've been out here on North Benson Road, here north of Buddy Owens, where you have a backlog of cars up to a quarter to even sometimes half a mile trying to make that left turn. I can almost assure you that this project will alleviate some of those traffic patterns and allow a little bit more mobility through our city. Additional improvements to the roadway include storm drainage improvements along the entire span of the construction project, including constructing a bridge-class culvert, crossing of the Mission McAllen Drainage Canal to the south of the project area, and also potable water infrastructure improvements that include water and sanitary sanitary
And now, a workshop of the McAllen City Commission. All workshops are open to the public in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. These workshops allow for detailed staff presentations.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's workshop. We have a couple of items, and first of all, any questions to staff for today's meeting?
Incredibly, no.
No. Okay, excellent. Item number 2 then, Taylor Road.
Yes, sir. We've got the engineering department here. We want to give you a little status report on where we are with the design of the next section of Taylor Road to make sure that we're all in agreement on how to proceed.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commission. With me today, I have Rene Gonzalez, our transportation engineer. I'm going to go over the overview of the project, and then I'll let Rene get into the specifics of the project for you. Apologize for the squeak. So first and foremost, we have Taylor Road from 2 to 4 that we have been working on the design. The engineer of record has taken this project to 30% schematic design. Pending activities would be right-of-way acquisition and then construction that we estimate to be about 18 months. The cost for this 2 miles, right now we're estimating at schematic design to be between $12 and $13 million. What Rene will be going over today is that we're looking at a 4-lane road. He'll look at the treatments for each intersection. There are 5 intersections or major intersections for this corridor. It runs through 3 jurisdictions. It runs through Mission, Palmhurst, and the county. We've already had discussions with Palmhurst. After today, getting direction from Commission, we'll be looking at trying to meet with the city of Mission and the county. And I think it's important that we talk about those partners because in one area that Rene goes through, there's already development in the county that kind of impedes on the road. During construction, there may be challenges there, but as we go through that, if you have any questions, please bring them up. But I'm going to pass it over to Rene unless you have any questions right now for me.
Did you really say $12 million for 2 miles of road?
Those are the numbers that we've been getting. That's a little lower number than what TxDOT is getting. But lately, the numbers have escalated to about, or have steadied at about that average.
What happened to the rule of thumb of $1 million per mile?
We were hoping it would still be there, but we're not getting that right now.
Okay, that must have worked only in the 1980s then, maybe.
Yes.
I think so. That rule of thumb.
Good afternoon.
Sweat there.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Commission. Again, Rene Gonzalez, I'm the transportation engineer for the city. I'm just going to try to go briefly over the whole project. Just so you all know, there's 2 other phases. One that's under construction right now, and there's a second one coming up in a year and a half from now. And from here, we're going to try to match what's coming up from the south. So I'm going to go ahead and start from the Mission side on the south side, where Mile 2 and Daffodil, Daffodil, Mile 2, and Taylor meet. So if you look at your screen, just this, I'm going to go ahead and flip and put north to the top, so we can. Let me give you your bearings. So this is the Mission side. This is McAllen side. This will be the south side of Daffodil. This is where the project will begin. What you see in here is a 4-lane road with a left turn lane. We are not including right turn lanes in here. That we're just matching what's on the south, and that has to do because of the right-of-way, the way that it's coming in, and the way that Daffodil meets the roadway also. So we're matching that. We're coming with a left turn lane. It's a 4-lane roadway. We're trying to minimize as much right-of-way taking as we can. At this point in here, we're not basically taking that much right-of-way because of the other phase is in the process of acquiring the right-of-way at this location. There's very little taking from this segment. Once we get to the cemetery, we try to hold the cemetery side intact, not try to impact it, hold the road as much as we could to the west to try to not impact the cemetery. And when we get to Nolana, it will be just a normal intersection, a T intersection, with stopping in all comings, Nolana, north or southbound or westbound, with only a left turn lane coming in southbound into Nolana. Now,
With a light or without a light?
right now at this point is without light. Eventually, we're going to study this a little bit further, depending on what the models show. Like I said, we're in schematic right now. What we're looking at more in schematic phases to see how much right-of-way we're going to be taking. So once we do a full study on what the movements are, we're going to start looking possibly at some alternative intersection designs. And that will be probably something that will come up on the design phase once we go and get more into the intricacies of the design. One of the things that we talked about in here is possibly doing one of those nonstop green light like the one we have on Bicentennial. But we have a street so close to it that it's kind of posing some issues there with us on the design portion, so that's what we need to look at a little bit more in detail. But that will work perfect in here to get the traffic going. There's other options also that we're going to be studying that we're looking into. But as of right now, we have only just a regular intersection and possibly, if it warrants, also a traffic signal. Going north, we're going to keep the same section, 4 lanes, only a 5th lane when we come to the intersection. And as you notice also, we're trying to minimize the taking of right-of-way. At this point, we're trying to center the right-of-way, and we're only taking right-of-way at parcels that have not been subdivided. Once we approach 3 Mile Line, and here, since we're approaching a major arterial, a very large roadway, we have to look into providing that right turn lane so that we can have more movements of traffic, less congestion, all of that. So in here, we are looking at providing a right turn lane and a left turn lane.
So just to know, once we went north of that cemetery, on the west side is Palmhurst. And so Palmhurst starts there, and we enter into another jurisdiction. I just want to point that out.
Thank you, Eduardo. It's a 3 Mile Line. We're trying to maximize that intersection at this point. Try to get all those movements that are required to have a functional intersection. This is probably one of the locations we're going to be taking the most right away as far as an intersection. Going north, we're going to keep the 4-lane road. And as Eduardo pointed, to the west is Palmhurst in this location. Palmhurst tends to be a little bit more of a residential type of community. So we're trying to impact as less as possible their side. And we reach Dove Avenue. Now on Dove, if you notice in here, there's an empty lot to the west. As of right now, we're looking into just doing a regular intersection, just a normal T intersection with a traffic light, of course. And here we're going to study a little bit further. We're going to master plan it for an alternative design. We don't know which one we're going to go with yet until the traffic actually gives us that answer. The one that is looking best at this point is a roundabout, but we haven't really run the model in there. And the reason why the roundabout is the best in this location is because of the school and the development to the west. And the way that Palmhurst develops is a smaller community, smaller roadways, smaller streets, so it gives that transition.
The only thing here on Dove, okay, because Dove is being widened and it's
Connected.
gonna make a thoroughfare now, right after Ware Road, no, right before we're from 29th Street to Ware Road, now it's gonna go all the way through to Benson, right? That's the
Yes, sir.
the new thoroughfare, and then it will go all the way to Taylor.
Yes, sir.
So people are going to use Dove as a thoroughfare to go
Correct.
all the way through. So there will be a lot of traffic, and without a light there, there's going to be some.
Yes, and as you remember
By the
also.
time this is done, 3 years from now, let's just say, full construction, people are going to already get used to using Dove going all the way to Taylor to get
Yes.
to Shirley.
Yes, correct, especially the school, during school hours. And that's one of the things that we have. We have such a high volume of traffic that wants to move east and west. Many times, moving them fast is not the right answer. The right answer is moving them at a right rate constantly through the whole street. And that's why that alternative design came to our minds. And because there's no traffic going west at this time. And remember also, we're coming in with a project on Benson, which we're also widening Benson, which we'll be presenting to you in the near future, another schematic with the widening of Benson. That's going to also provide another route going north and south. Yes, so at this point, as we mentioned, this is still Palmhurst, this is McAllen. We're trying to keep the 4-lane road going north. And then there's a segment some of you might be familiar with this area. There's a small subdivision that is not part of Palmhurst, it's part of the county. It's a subdivision that has fourplexes, it's a high density, and it's on the west side. So all of these fourplexes are single lots that are facing Taylor, so their access is through Taylor. So we're trying to minimize the impact to that and try to keep the four-lane road in that intersection. So this is a very old subdivision, so we're trying to fit the road as best as we can. At this location, once we get to the intersection, there's a couple of parcels that are very close to the roadway. And I'm going to pause here a little bit so I can give you an overall perspective on why this roundabout isn't here. One of the things that we've been looking at internally is trying to get traffic to move east and west efficiently. 4 Mile line, when you go from Bicentennial to Palmhurst, is a small corridor, but it's going to be wide enough to carry enough volume. So if we have signals at each intersection and we push traffic fast, we're going to be creating congestion at some of those intersections like we normally see. If we have a roadway that has alternative intersections like that, we can move traffic at a slower speed, but we're going to be efficiently moving them east-west through our north-south corridors. This street connects to Bicentennial. It will be connecting to the future Benson, and it will be connecting to this Taylor Road, which will be moving traffic north and south efficiently, but we need to move them at a slower speed east and west. So by having a roundabout in here, we can minimize the impact to the fourplexes by only impacting one lot, whereas if we put a regular intersection, we'll have to impact 2 or 3 lots. By doing this, also, we can do that small transition moving east with the other thoroughfares. So this is what we're proposing right now, but it's not set in stone. That's what we're here presenting to you.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
The older fourplex subdivision to the south there, all of them would have access to Taylor, right? I mean, there's no way to prohibit, kind of doing some kind of new cement area to channel traffic into, because all of them have access now, and you're having a relatively fast thoroughfare with all of them having access, right? So kind of defeats the purpose.
There were several alternatives that we looked at. Right now, we're trying to, and that's another reason for the roundabout, actually. When traffic enters a roundabout, it reduces speed.
They would have access.
They will have access.
We would have to provide them all a curb cut onto Taylor Road. We wish they had more room.
Yeah, they're
to
very
do
close to
something
the street.
alternative,
Yeah, we can.
but their house or the structure and the right-of-way are so close that we have to provide each one a curb cut.
And you're correct, Commissioner. Having a regular intersection, if you catch it on green or if you have, the traffic will go too fast. And we were trying to minimize the speed, reduce the speed, create a traffic to be alert. And this was one of the options that triggered that. So there's other options. Like I said, this is not set in stone. We're going to study each one of these 3 intersections that are critical, and we'll have a final design.
So one of the things we were looking for today is, so we looked at alternative intersection designs for all 5 intersections. Down at Daffodil, there's already a signal there, so we decided to leave that the same. At Nolana, we had looked at the continuous green that we have at Lark and Bicentennial. Unfortunately, that didn't work out as well. It restricted some movements when we had met with Palmhurst. At 3 Mile, it already has a signal, so we were looking at a traditional signal there. At Dove, we looked at the continuous green as well. If you take it to Dove, there's a vacant land in Palmhurst, so when they develop, if we do that continuous green, there would be a median that would restrict access for whether that's commercial or residential. And so while it looked good in the short term, in the long term, we can see that through development, there may be issues. Brené is still working the roundabout. Palmhurst was not too in favor when we met with them with that idea. So we were looking at a traditional signal at that area. We do see that the roundabout, based on what we may do at Benson, and we'll bring Benson later on the schematic, that the roundabouts will work on that corridor, kind of take out traffic to Ware Road. So that's why we show that as an option one there. What we're looking for today is some type of consensus, whether what we showed today looks good, if the treatments that we've put at those intersections are acceptable. If they are, then we would move forward with the engineer to start taking this, to finish the schematic design and move into design development or a 60% set. If you have any questions, we open the floor for y'all
I don't
today.
have questions, but I know I live right by Pettis Elementary, and that roundabout is utilized. Nobody really has to wait, or if they wait, it's maybe 5-10 seconds. And I've never seen an accident and I've told people other than when I got hit. You know, I love roundabouts. I love roundabouts. I mean, you go and you just keep on going. Once people get used to them, there's no stopping unless, of course, you have to yield. If you do it correctly, I mean, you move traffic. So actually, I wish I could put roundabouts in every intersection in the city.
Believe me, Renee tried on every intersection. We went through each iteration, and the one that seemed the best or fit the model the best was there at Lark. We'll still look at Dove. If we can get that to work, we'll make that work. But right now, we didn't think it was 100% to present to you guys today. But we felt Lark was ready to present. We felt that it matches the characteristic and what we were trying to accomplish.
I was concerned because as I was looking through the schematic, whether or not there was gonna be a continuous center lane, but you just refreshed my memory about the fact that the other 2 miles or 3 miles south of there, of Daffodil, are just two lanes in each direction, no center lane, correct? Well, except for the intersections.
Exactly, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So it's 4 lanes, and I'm good with that. The one, you already mentioned it, I think at Buddy Owens, even though you're really constricted, you can squeeze in a right turn lane.
Yes, and that's one that we have to, because of the amount of movements in that intersection.
And if I'm not mistaken, I thought Palmhurst had a city ordinance that no lot should be less than 1 acre anyway.
Right.
So I think a roundabout there at Dove and Taylor's appropriate, and even more so, even though it's gonna affect those duplexes out there to have that that way.
Yes, there are several advantages to it for them and for us. The biggest one is, like Eduardo mentioned, is the development of this lot. When this lot develops, and taking also your information, Commissioner, is that this is developed, at least a third of this lot will have to match the width that we have on the other side for the intersection to work. If we have a roundabout, you can tap in with almost any width you want. So it could be a small driveway. So, because you're slowing down traffic and you're making everybody aware of how things are moving, you can do that. You can get away with that. On a regular intersection, you have to match basically the geometry that's on the other 3 corners to try to make it safe. So that is one of the reasons why we're really considering that option in here.
I think the more that you look at the roundabouts in areas that are less developed, and I call this more like suburban, I don't look at it as being urban. I think we need to take advantage of that. And as development continues to drive north and northwest, you know, we gotta have that vision. Let's put a roundabout here, you know, let's put one at 5, put one, well, you can't do it at 107, but you can do it past that, right?
Yes.
And do that.
I had the opportunity to speak to the EMS, the owner of the EMS for the city. He's from Carmel, Indiana. And he was mentioning that in Carmel, they can transport less, they can have less ambulances to service a larger area because they travel slower, safer, but the travel time is less because they're not stopping. And he mentioned the mayor, the roundabout at Main and Auburn, and he said, man, we love going that route because if we take Trenton, it's faster for us to go that way.
Right.
So those are the pros. I mean,
As you mentioned 3 mile and the right turn lanes, we do have that as an option. As we get into the right-of-way acquisition, there's one residential area in the northwest corner. Hopefully they'll be amenable to taking a little more right-of-way to put that in. But it is one of the options that we do have there. That's a major intersection. We'd like to get that in if we can.
Are we working on some kind of cost sharing with other jurisdictions?
We've only approached Palmhurst in discussions with their city manager. Coffers look light. We're gonna, after this meeting, we plan on meeting with Mission and discussing that with them. They have partnered with us south of here. They may already have most of the right-of-way and their area may be clear. We can talk to them about construction dollars. And then when we get with the county, there's such a small segment, I don't know if they would come forward, but we can definitely entertain that with them as well. As we're able to move forward after this meeting, we'll bring up those discussions.
So let me think a little bit further ahead. On the schematic, are you, in terms of stormwater sewer infrastructure?
We're coordinating,
Is it on both sides?
yes,
I
Sharon
mean,
Water
come on,
Corporation.
You gotta see.
It's gonna be, yes.
The asphalt and the curb to Lo Paso. But when it comes to stormwater sewer, they should ought to pay in their share because it's gonna benefit their citizens.
So as part of this is after we get past the 30%, we'll start doing the hydraulics. If they want drainage area included in their jurisdiction, we would definitely bring that up.
Pay now
So
or
when
later.
we design based on the drainage areas. We're definitely gonna include our drainage areas for that. We'll include, typical is you go a certain distance from the roadway. But if we go beyond that, we'll definitely ask them to cost share in that drainage improvement.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right, right?
Go.
Any other questions?
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
Renee.
much.
Thank you, Eduardo. Thank you, Renee.
McAllen Parks.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Good afternoon, Commissioners. We're here today, myself and the young lady to my left, Ms. Sally Gavlik, who was the consultant on the results that we're going to share with you today. But this is the McAllen Parks and Recreation Open Space update on our 10-year master plan. And so we started this process this year, and I'll have Sally go more over the results of what we concluded in from our survey and why we did this.
I'm Sally Gavlik, and I'm the owner of PR&S, which is a consulting firm that specializes in parks and recreation, master plans, and grants. And since I wasn't sure that all of you understood what the master plans were, we are going to have a little bit of background. First of all, master plans are required by Texas Parks and Wildlife, and in the past few years, the foundations, especially the local foundations, are also asking if you have master plans for park development. Generally, they are included for a 5 to a 10-year period for capital projects within parks and recreation. Even though they are included in the grant process, you do not have to have a master plan to apply for a grant with Texas Parks and Wildlife. But if you do have a grant, you automatically, and if you do have a master plan, you automatically get 10 points for that master plan. If you have a priority listing of the top 10 priorities, and you have one of the top 3 priorities within your master plan as part of your grant application, you get another 5 points. Then if you have some of the other items in your master plan, you get 1 point for each one of those. So in a minute, we're going to show you your top 10 priorities. You could have within a grant application an automatic 17 points right off the bat before anybody else ever applied for a grant application. So while you don't have to have one, they are certainly beneficial for a grant application. The difference between the 10-year master plan and the 5-year update is every 10 years, a city or a county has to develop a new 10-year master plan. but at a 5-year period, you have to do an update. The reason for that update is that monies change. COVID is a perfect example of the finances for cities and counties dramatically changed during that period. City councils, city commissions change, and so the priorities for a city can change during that time period, and the elected officials change. You have to have for both entities citizen input. For this McAllen's master plan, we had 4 original focus groups and 1 focus group with high school students. This update, we only had 2 because you don't have to go into as great a detail. Both of the 10-year plan and the 5-year plan, you have to have a top 10 listing. They do not have to be the same, and your top 10 listing from the original master plan and this 5-year update are not the same. The 10-year plan has to have a set of goals that coincide and match the city's strategic plan and goals. We did not update those goals for the 5-year update. I would recommend that when you do your next master plan in 2028, that you review the goals and match those to the city's strategic plan and goals. The 10-year plan has to have a detailed inventory with pictures, with the age of what the playground equipment is, what the shelters are. And I can tell you right now, some of the swimming pools are 30 years old. Some of the recreation centers are 50 years old. And some of the pavilions are probably 60 years old. So that inventory is very important. For the update, you only have to identify anything that has been constructed in the last 5 years and identify what those are, because Parks and Wildlife wants to see how you have upgraded your park system within the 5 years. The original master plan has to be approved by a Parks and Recreation Advisory Board if you have one, and then by the City Council or City Commission. The update does not have to be approved by the Parks Board, but it does have to be approved by the City Commission. We opted to go to the Parks Board for the 5-year update, and the Parks Board did approve the master plan, and they approved the priority listing before it came here to the City Council, to the City Commission, I'm sorry. The community meetings, as I said, it is part of the requirement. We had an online survey. The original survey, we had 1,300 respondents. This time we had almost 1,100 respondents. And that is really pretty good because originally we had 5 focus groups and this time we only had 2. And those focus groups, all of their responses were included along with the online. Those 2 focus groups, one was at Palmview and one was at Lark. Instead of having a teenage group fill out the surveys, we utilized the summer staff since so many of those fall within that teenage group. One reason for asking teenagers is because somebody who is 16 or 17 in 5 years are going to be 21 or 22, and a lot of those may be young families and what they would like to see within their park system. The documentation from the online surveys was used to develop your top 10 priority listings. The comments from the focus groups were also identified within the master plan, and this gives the Parks and Recreation Department the opportunity when they are looking at developing their capital plan or developing the potential for a grant application. And an example I can give you is that one of the priorities is athletic fields or facilities. in the focus groups, they may tell you they want that athletic field or the facility to be at a specific park. So you can combine both of those then when you're developing your grant application. The other thing is that McAllen has a 28% of 15 and under youth. That is the highest percentage rate of any metropolitan city within the state. So you are going to have a large group of youth to be able to provide facilities for, and that youth group is going to want sporting facilities or outside facilities, and their families are going to want outside facilities. Survey documentation. The surveys were on the website for, surveys were on the website for a month. They were also available at the focus groups, and they were also available at the Parks and Recreation Department. They were based on previous and current survey information for park amenities. We also had a question that was concerning promotions and where individuals found out about the programs that are offered for the Parks and Recreation Department. And this one was to be able to help the department determine how they would like to either spend and or promote their programs to the community. And that's something that is really important within this community because a lot of people use social media to find out about programs. And all the survey questions were used to determine the top 10 priority listing.
Danny, click twice. One more.
Hit it one more time.
One more time. Okay. Thank you, Pepe. Okay, here is your top 10 priority listing.
According to who?
This is according to the survey documents, okay? And if you will notice, they are pretty generic. You have nature park, athletic fields and facilities, linear parks and trails, swimming pool, new parks, indoor recreation center, tennis courts, lights, playgrounds, and amphitheater. You can take athletic fields and facilities, can be anything from baseball to pickleball. Swimming pools can be a neighborhood pool to a lap pool to a competition pool. It will qualify. That is one thing we tried to do, was to keep these as generic as possible so that when you wrote a grant application, you would qualify for the point system within the grant application. And then, does anybody have any questions?
So in the survey, were these options like drop-down options that people prioritized, pick your top 5?
Yes.
Okay, so these were options given to them. How many options were given to them that would, I guess, drop off the top 10?
They had, one question they had where they could pick as many as they wanted. And then another option was they picked their top 3. And then another option was that they could pick number 1, number 2, and number 3. So they had 3 different ways that they could pick what was the most important to them. And then they had points assigned to them, and the total amount of points was put together.
So this is primarily utilized as a tool for grant applications, right?
Yes.
This wasn't necessarily a survey tied to getting direct feedback on, let's say, like, number 1 nature park, right? So I would assume a lot of people believe they were trying to prioritize, like, the McAllen Nature Center.
No.
But we haven't, it doesn't correlate in that way.
No, it was not. It was what they would like to see, potentially built and or upgraded, but it was a generic title for that.
Okay.
So,
This is gonna be an upgrade for the nature park.
An upgrade for nature
Nature
park,
parks.
meaning that also could mean that we utilize the fundings for capital campgrounds.
But it's just generic, you can use it for
Correct.
everything. So
Yes,
it's
sir.
just-
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we are doing it, in other words, like, they're not familiar with Kepler Park.
Correct.
I would venture to say 95% of the community has no idea of Kepler Park, which is a nature park.
Correct.
And when, you know, in a year from now, they will understand and use it. And then the growth of Quinta and the nature park over there, you know, that will be something that will be used. So, yeah, it was kind of needed today, but we are taking action to do that.
Correct.
The only thing that I would like to see is the swimming and tennis, because they were there and because they could be in athletic fields, to get them into the top three so that we could align ourselves with some monies from the state and from national monies to give us points, because definitely the need for swimming and tennis and paddle or pickle, whatever, is a need in this community. And they've told us, you know, constantly, at least in my 2 years, that that's a priority, that the swimming pool and the tennis and pickle paddle scenario.
The commission does have the opportunity to change the listing if that's something they want to do.
Well, I'm just saying for us to be able to get, you know, some federal monies and some state
Yeah.
monies.
Right now, you would get 10 points for the master plan, and then if you had a swimming pool as your application, you would get 1 point for the swimming pool. Since it's not in the top 3, you would not get the 5 points.
You could swap out 3 and 4 and
Right.
get.
I mean, it's
get
right
you-
there.
Yeah.
But we don't have to do that right now. Right now, we're just looking at this, then, so this is the community plus the advisory board, they come up with this, correct?
Yes.
And we utilize it for the purposes of grants. Difference whether it's top 3 or not is 4 points.
What I have to do is, and that's what, to submit the master plan, I have to be able to submit the top 10 priority also.
On the survey questions, did it segregate citizens versus non-citizens? Did it ask the question, are you a McAllen citizen?
We ask if they
Residents.
lived in the ETJ.
Oh, it did.
Yep.
And based on that, could you also segregate the responses out, those that were within and those that were outside?
We.
In other words, what I'm
we've
trying
got-
to get is, I didn't want like 1,000 people from the city of Wesco answering this thing and
Right,
influencing.
there is a breakdown of
Yeah.
where the respondents were from.
Okay.
And so
So-
we did do northwest,
Yeah.
northeast, southwest, southeast, and outside the.
Oh, I see.
Outside.
Okay.
Outside was like 15% or something. I mean, it's.
Outside.
Side,
Yep, yes, sir, about 16%.
Were those responses
16%.
excluded, like you just didn't count them, or?
No, they're counting.
They're counted.
They're counted.
Yeah, but they're not paying for it.
Yep, yep.
Okay,
No, they were included because they were in the ETJ.
all right.
Were there more than just 10 options?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
that's good.
yeah. We just had the top 10 that were included. And the top 10 actually had so many more points than what the remainder did.
Got it. It's a good list. I mean, it's.
But
Do we need to take action?
So what do y'all need from us?
It's on the regular agenda.
It's on the
Regular agenda, yeah. What we would be asking from you all is to approve for us to submit the master plan and approve the top 10 priority list, because the master plan cannot be submitted without the top 10 priority list.
Thank you. Any
Sounds
other
good.
questions?
Nope.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have time? Yeah, we'll recess into executive session.
This concludes the workshop of the McAllen City Commission. Workshops are held every second and fourth Monday of the month, convening at 4 p.m. at the McAllen City Commission Chamber on the third floor at McAllen City Hall.
So if you can help me in thanking each of them. First of all, HEB, Bird Ogden Auto Group, McAllen International Airport, South Padre